Hey guys, this is Jay here from Gymaware. Really hope you're enjoying Coach Mayor's podcast series so far. Here at Gymaware, we've just released our brand new VBT product, Flex. So I just want to give you a bit of insight into what it is and how it could help you as a coach or athlete. Flex uses brand new laser optic technology to measure barbell velocity, so like Gymaware, it's highly accurate. The device connects straight to your iPhone or iPad. We've had an independent validation study to confirm that Flex is highly accurate. We have loads of awesome features already, and our experienced development team continues to work on software updates each and every day. Key performance metrics are available, including both peak and mean velocity, peak and mean power, distance, bar position and bar path. If you guys want any more information on Flex, velocity-based training, just be sure to reach out, go to our website, check us out on socials as well. But for now, we hope you enjoy the rest of Coach DeMayo's podcast.
The world of strength and conditioning is filled with some fantastic practitioners that are always searching for more. But more what? What are strength and conditioning coaches searching for to better their ability to prepare their athletes? Well, what about cutting-edge information, or a place where you can find different opinions from forward-thinking coaches on what you're doing, how you're doing, and try to get feedback to be better for your athletes? Or what about a place where you'll find like-minded coaches that can provide solid coaching advice and career development for you as you progress through your career as a strength and conditioning professional? Well, this is exactly why we built the Strength Coach Network. You'll have access to exclusive monthly content on top of the sensationally active forum that we have, where you can communicate with coaches all over the world to find those answers that you're looking for to help you be a better practitioner for your athletes. So make sure you hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS, that's strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS, and get your 48-hour trial for only $1. I look forward to seeing you in the Strength Coach Network. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 75th episode of Outside the Rack, brought to you by Kinetic Performance, the makers of Gymaware. In this show, we're just going to try to dive a little deeper into the minds of the top practitioners in the world of sport performance, to learn a little bit more about who they actually are and how they got to where they are today. Today, we are joined by the Duke University women's basketball sport performance coach, Ashleigh Beaver. Ash, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me back with you.
Yeah, dude, fired up. Great to chop it up here a bit. It's always great to talk and kind of make a fool of myself when we get to catch up here. But before we get too far into this, who is Ashleigh?
I feel like that's a very loaded question, but Ashley's a lot of people. But first and foremost, I am just Ashleigh. Like, definitely one of those coaches. Like, if you walk into a room, I am just Ashleigh. I am here to hopefully make you better, inspire you to, I don't know, perform well, be the best that you can be, and all of those things. But I'm just a person too. So if you email me, call me, do any of those things, it's just Ashleigh, and I'm totally fine. Ash is fine too. Outside of that, I am a daughter, and I'm the most amazing sister. Both of my siblings will tell you I am awesome at all times. That's first and foremost. My family is so very important to me, and I'm, I wouldn't be here without their support. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that. But I'm a military brat, but I call Savannah, Georgia, my home. I am still, even though I'm old, I'm still an athlete. I still am super competitive. Those are the things that kind of drive me and obviously drive where I'm at and where I want to be. But yeah, overall, I'm a sports performance coach currently, and I work with the Duke women's basketball team, and I'm loving it. And again, it's just, I am driven by my passion, which is to inspire people and make people better. And that's why I'm here.
It's awesome. I love it. And I think that someone who's had an interesting voyage, when it's being a military brat and the stops you had to go from Duke and up north and then back to Duke, there's been some times where there's been some things that have probably turned that light bulb on that have been pretty intense. So if you wouldn't mind, describe a learning situation that brought about an epiphany in your career.
I can definitely say that I've had a few. So just a blanket one, I think is, it was very interesting for me to go from being in a situation where I had multiple teams and multiple sports, and then coming to a situation where I was just with one. And in doing so, obviously, I talked to, my mentor is Mike Bewley, who obviously works with basketball, and then Coach Will, who is with men's basketball. And I just, was picking their brains, what do I need to do differently? Because obviously, going to one, I'm going to be much more involved with every aspect. So not just being in the weight room, being that weight room person, but being out on the court, all of the conditioning, aspects of nutrition, aspects of recovery, helping with return to play, all of those things. So just kind of picking their brains and even going over testing and trying to revamp I was super hyped, like, oh, okay, this is going to be important to me and this is what I'm going to do. And then taking that to my first meeting with the coaches, like obviously after we did all of our formalities, but bringing that to them, being really excited about it, and then just being told right to your face, like, no, that's not what we're going to do. Okay, why? Obviously, like that's what my question was. I'm like, sure, like tell me, what your expectations are, and like what are you thinking, and and a why behind it. And it was, we've done it this way for this many years, and we've been successful, and that's how we're going to do it, and that's what we're going to keep on doing. So obviously it was like a little deflated after that conversation, just because like I was extremely excited and it was mine, and it was like the first time like everything was mine, and that's what we were doing. And then I kind of took a step back, and that's when it was like having to change my mindset. Instead of being I don't know, ego butthurt about it, instead, like, how do I change my mindset, and how do I accomplish what I need to accomplish, but getting around the new parameters I have. So instead of being like so set in my ways and whatever, humbling myself to the fact that I'm working with other people, but I know as the practitioner what I need to get done. And so I still need to do those even if I can't do it the way I want to do it. So okay, let's look at this completely differently. And so something I think that really changed for me as well is like how important it is with your relationship with not only your student athletes, because right, as sports performance coaches, we are constantly told, build relationships with your athletes. Like they're going to trust you more if they know more about you and they know you care. Well, it's the same thing with your coaches. And then going through like a few coaching staffs and then an entire coaching staff change, like I think that was really helpful for me, because then it was okay, I not only do I have to work out this stuff with my student athletes, I really have to work at these new relationships with these coaches, because before I can accomplish most of my goals and what I need to do, I need them to trust me as well. So like, how is my relationship and relationship building with these coaches different than it was before? So that way they trust that, like, hey, Ashleigh's got it, just let her take care of the weight room, we're not going to get in the way. Like as long as they're seeing what they want to see on the court, I'm in a good position. So I think that really helped me grow as a person and as a sports performance coach, to kind of like change that. It's not just, it is about our student athletes, obviously at the end of the day, that's number one, but really working on, those relationships with other people.
100%. I think that's something that a lot of us, when we take that dive into the, excuse the word, sports specific realm, run into, right? Where, because you've been running around like a chicken with your head cut off for so long, doing all these different things that you didn't, this isn't fair to say, but you didn't necessarily have the time to invest in fully what you were trying to do. That when you start to try to invest in fully, you realize that some of those investments don't tick the boxes that are necessarily important to the staff.
Oh, 100%. And I don't think you said it incorrectly. Like just with working with 7 teams, there's no way in hell, there's no way that I could travel with all of those teams, that I could warm them up for every practice, warm them up for every game, cool them down for every practice, every game. I would be nothing right now. So it's just, yes, that like the investment piece is just it's just different. It's not any less. I still loved like having 7 teams and and the multiple interactions that you got. But yes, it was just completely different. But you were exactly right. Like those, some of those boxes that I was ticking with 7 teams are not necessarily conducive to having one team. And it's got to be different. And then it's how we can accomplish those things, or, you know, work as a complete unit to accomplish those things.
100%. I think that's a great way to put it too. And I think though that when you're running through those situations, you've got to be willing to dig, and you've got to be willing to, turn over some rocks, and really take a step back and look in the mirror at times too, and ask questions, and be able to question yourself to make sure that not only you're answering the questions that are being provided, but that you understand the questions that are being provided, and that you're not just trying to self-serve yourself in that situation, and I think that that's hard. But I also think that leads us to be inquisitive as professionals, which leads me to question two. If Ashleigh could ask one question and she knows she would get the answer to it, what would that question be and why?
Ashleigh has a lot of questions that she would like the answer to. And I think I was leaning towards a question before, and I'm going to take it a different direction, because we were talking about, you know, how I had to transition and do that change. I guess my question, with this kind of new generation of student athletes that we do have, and situations that happened at other universities, where do we go when accountability is now almost like a hard word to say, a hard word to use? You can't use the punishment word. That's not a thing anymore. So in teaching, and also in teaching accountability and creating a standard and creating a culture, where do we go when I mean, I don't know, when we can't hold people accountable? And I don't mean running people into the ground. That's not where I'm going with that question. But if you can't run, okay, well then let's mop. If you can't mop because that's degrading to somebody else, then what do? Then you give someone a gold star for showing up on time, but then the other person doesn't get the gold star. Well, then I am not being fair to the person that got the gold star, because they still came in. I still got some of the work done. You know what I mean? So like where do we go? Because this is still a team unit. This is still, no matter what, and I know I'm specifically talking about college sports, and obviously specifically basketball, but for the whole thing to work, we all have to have some sort of team standard and team accountability. So what do we do?
It's hard, dude. It's hard, like we talked a while about that before we started, just so people understand, like, and it's challenging, and it doesn't seem, when you discuss the ideas of punishment, there are a lot of things that seem to make sense as to why it is bad. Obviously, comma, if there is no repercussions for things that have occurred, what then deters behavior? And I know some people like to say, well, just tell them they can't train, and then that's the punishment. Those people probably have never worked in college basketball, because I would say at least half of them don't want to train anyway. So now you're positively reinforcing the decision. And again, I'm not saying
Exactly. I don't have to do it. No, right. But if I know that I won't have to train that day, or be in the weight room, or be at practice, and that's where my head is at, I'm going to continue to do that behavior because I'm getting what I want.
facts, and it's wild, and it's like, I think too, what'll be really interesting is when now all this NIL stuff actually really goes through, whether that was supposed to be the first of the year or July 1 or whatever it is, and these kids can start getting paid. Like, how does that impact it? Like, what sort of curveball does that throw in now? Because it's like,
I think it adds an entire another blanket, an entire another level on top of it, because I feel like, in a naive way, there's going to be student athletes that are like, oh, we're about to get paid. And then when they realize if they're not playing, if they're not the, quote unquote star of the team and doing, they're not going to be getting paid as much as said person. So then what are you going to do? Are you gonna work harder and try to, okay, maybe not this year, but maybe this next year, I'm going to be the person because I'm going to be the one that wants, and there are going to be athletes that do that. But then I feel like we're going to have the same response on the opposite end where like, okay, well, I'm not getting it. So what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Oh, and also there's no repercussions for me not working. So like, I'm Gucci.
Yeah, seriously, like it's just kind of crazy spin, that I think that is just so 2020, 2021, that is just like this hamster wheel of what are we doing? Where are we going? How are we going to figure this out? How are we going to make it work? Is it even working? What day is it? I don't even know. Like, it's January or is it March? I mean, what time is it? Like the whole thing where it's just like, it feels like Groundhog's Day, only it's getting cold. I don't like the
Yes.
second part.
But I feel like that's the bigger, like, so just like bringing it back together is I don't want it to be the punishment thing. You know what I mean? You are not a punishment person. I'm not a punishment person. I want to hold my people accountable for my area and what we're doing because they know that that standard is set. It's the same thing every single time. Everyone's held to the exact same standard. It's accountability. It is not punishment. And
Yeah.
in your area, you do the accountability over there, and it's accountability. It's just holding someone to a standard. And I don't want it to get misconstrued with punishment because that's where people are like, and that's not my job either. I'm not the punishment person.
Right. Because
But you bet
consequences
your
and punishment
bottom,
are different.
like, yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And it's like what we talked about before. It's like, I also think too that the one thing that people overlook in this situation is the power of having a consequence is a stop. Like once I make a mistake, I'm late, or I don't show up because I don't set my alarm, even though my phone is physically attached to my temple at all moments. I come in, we have a consistent consequence. I do the consequence. Everything is now over. There's no, you did this, and we just have to kind of let it ride. And then, like, things with the players stem up. You know what I mean? Like, players start to hold resentment towards each other because of that. We will hold resentment against people because we're human. Like, it just is bound to happen. The coaches will get mad because they have to deal with this stuff. And it's just like, if there could just be a simple, you don't tick the box, this is how you fix it. I just think a lot of things would be easier. Again, and this could just because I'm old, curmudgeon, and stuck in my ways, but I just think it's easier because it's like, okay, it's done. Next foot
You get it over
forward.
with and out of
Well,
the, yep, you get it over with and out of the way. And like, okay, let's wash our hands of it. We'll be done.
yeah, it's a
No,
lot
I
easier.
100% agree. Yeah.
A lot easier. Well, listen, as someone who is in the mix of it constantly and in this crazy world, this is a hard one to ask. But if this was traditional world and all of these things are possible, we get through the season, it's time to take a breath. What's Ashleigh's escape?
In a non-COVID traditional time, I am out of here. It's one of the things I always do is go see my family. And I know that just sounds silly, but I'm just like the only one away. And so it's really nice to kind of spend a little bit of time with them and do that. That's a huge escape for me. But I love traveling, and even within sports performance and then also the military side of things, I now know people everywhere. And it is like such an amazing experience to be like, okay, I need to get out of town. And everyone's like, oh, you can come here, you can come stay, come train. That's my favorite, is when people are like, come out here and then you can come, still a part of us. I love training. Like my escape right now, even though we're in this COVID year, is I go somewhere else, not in the university, to go work out. I still work out at work. I love fitness and like at, making myself better. But it's like this outside community that's not work that you may holds me accountable to, staying fit and doing whatever. So like those kind of things. So it would be traveling, um, for sure. And I think outside of that, like and it was really funny because I think I listened to like 2 or 3 of your other podcasts and everyone was saying the same thing, but like I love cooking. And I don't know if it's the cooking part to like get me relaxed and out of it, but eating the food afterward is my favorite part. Like you could food motivate me to do anything.
Good food motivate me to do anything. That's awesome. No,
Yes,
I
like
think
I
that,
don't judge places that I go based off of like, oh, like the Louvre was beautiful. It's like, how was the food? That's when I want to know because that's where I'm going.
yeah, cooking is more and more like becoming my like turn off. Like come back and it's like, all right, I'm making dinner and this is my time where it's like I am turning this thing off to, and I don't know if I noticed that as much until a bunch of people started talking about it. And then it's like, yeah, yeah. I mean, and obviously you don't get to 215 pounds if you couldn't be food motivated also. So um, I'm smelling what you're stepping in on that one. Like I'm 100% there. It's just like,
I think I've been very fortunate. Mine has went the opposite way and I've been cooking more than ever. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I had to like go the other way. Luckily I'm not 215 anymore. My gosh. I'm hard enough to look at, let alone when I'm fat. I mean, it's just
oh,
like,
stop.
it's not good. But no, Ash, as always, it's awesome to catch up. This is great. I truly appreciate your time and everything that you're doing to try to help people grow and be better. And I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us today. This was great.
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, but we'll be in touch real soon. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Bye.